Hey, y'all. Welcome to the What's Up with Yoga podcast. I'm your host, Kim Struglinski. I'm the founder and owner of Heart of Wisdom Yoga in Nashville, Tennessee. We are a regular temperature yoga studio offering a wide range of styles of yoga classes. And I have been teaching full time for over 6 years. I've been teaching and working in the fitness industry for over 8 years. So I wanted to bring some of my insights about yoga and especially in this episode, a picture of fitness industry as a whole. So today's podcast is quite an interesting topic. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, or maybe heart isn't quite the right word, but this is a topic that I have a lot of experience with and a lot of feelings about. Today, we're going to talk about what's up with ClassPass. This episode is more about the fitness industry as a whole, not just yoga. So I'm hoping that this will appeal to a wide range of people. And at the same time, I hope that my yoga friends will find this really interesting too. As always, I do have my emotional support. This time I have 3 emotional support beverages. I've got water, I've got a latte, I've got Spindrift, I've got some snacks. It's going to be interesting to see how long this one is. So who am I to be talking about this? So I was a semi-early user of ClassPass. I used it back in 2014 and 2015. I think I probably kept my membership until probably like 2017 or 2018. So I was a consumer as a class taker, and then my yoga studio was also on ClassPass. We did leave ClassPass earlier this year. Our last month in ClassPass was the beginning of July. So we left ClassPass at the beginning of July. So I want to talk to you a little bit about ClassPass from the consumer perspective and from the business perspective. There's a lot of different things that I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about what is ClassPass, why are businesses on ClassPass anyway? Like why would a business join ClassPass? What's the discourse? What's the conversation about it right now? What is sort of the conflict or the issue? Because spoiler alert, there is somewhat of an issue. There's a couple of them actually. We're going to talk about why studios would leave ClassPass. We're going to talk about some other logistics that you may not know about from the studio end. And then we'll talk a little bit about why you should buy directly from studios. If you want to use ClassPass, how can you be a good ClassPass user? And how could ClassPass be better? If you gave me free reign to fix ClassPass, as far as I'm concerned, what would I do? Before I dive into this, if you've been enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, rate, review, follow. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. If you want to discuss this episode, share it with a friend. I would love to get your feedback and hear what you think about this, because I think this could end up being sort of the beginning of a series too. So what's up with ClassPass? I have an outline this time. I'm going to try to stay organized and try to make sure I know what I'm talking about and don't lose my train of thought. So what is ClassPass? It is a class and now service aggregator. So it's basically a one-stop shop to book at a wide range of studios. You might book yoga classes, fitness classes. You can also book gym time. You can book haircuts. You can book nails, massages, other types of body work. You can book sauna sessions now. You can get Botox via ClassPass. So there's a lot of options on ClassPass now. It essentially allows you to buy a membership that you pay to ClassPass and then use that membership at other studios, which ClassPass then compensates on your behalf. So there's a whole lot of ways and a whole lot of places that you might book via ClassPass these days. ClassPass actually started back in 2013, and I remember using ClassPass. I think I probably started using it in 2014. And I was there in the days when you got unlimited classes and unlimited credits for $99 a month. That is not how it is anymore. So they started back in 2013 and they were purchased by MindBody, which is one of the big players in the wellness and fitness booking space in 2021. ClassPass is essentially a one-stop shop and it includes both a web platform, but mostly people use it on an app. So why would a business be on ClassPass anyway? It is a great marketing tool. It's a way to bring in more clients. Like I said, ClassPass from a client perspective is a really seamless booking platform. It's just a one-stop shop platform. You can buy one membership and use it at a bunch of different places. So it's super seamless as a customer, and it's really easy to just book, cancel, manage, rate, all that within the ClassPass app. So especially if you were a new business, it's a really great marketing tool. That's actually why I went on to ClassPass, was so that our business could get more customers. It's great for supplementary income, and it's another way to get people in the door. Again, especially when you're newer, whether it's newer to market, newer to a city, anything like that, it is a great way to bring more people in, to get your name out there. And it is a great way to fill unused spots. So fill spots in classes that aren't completely full from your own marketing. It's just a good supplement to what you already do. It is also free to join. So it's pretty easy-ish to set up. And that I say ish because it depends a little bit on the booking platform, but it's just an easy way to get your business in front of more people. And that would be why businesses are on ClassPass. Let's talk about like the logistics of going on ClassPass, right? So ClassPass does not replace an existing booking software. It is a supplement. What that means is every studio has to have some sort of, and I say studio, but businesses that are on ClassPass have to have their own booking software. So you're already paying for a booking software. You've already set it up on your own back end. You're hosting it on your website. You've maybe got either that booking software's app or a private label app that you've put in. So studios rely on booking software and customer management software to keep in touch with their clients, to manage your memberships, all that kind of stuff. So studios already have that set up. And then ClassPass is a third-party service that can integrate with the booking software that you use. Some of the big booking softwares are Mindbody, Mariana Tech, Arquetta, Moments, which is what we use, Fit Degree. So they are something that you subscribe to as a studio that helps run your scheduling, helps run all this, kind of back end stuff. And then you basically grant ClassPass additional permission to your schedule to then add people into your classes and such, but it's what we call a third-party booking software. So clients are managing their booking directly with ClassPass, not with your studio. A couple other things to know logistically about ClassPass. ClassPass sets their own cancellation policies and booking windows. I believe it's a 7-day booking window for ClassPass across the board. They have their own sort of set booking windows and cancellation policies. They also essentially tell studios what they're going to reimburse for, and that's something we're going to get a little bit further into later on. When you book a class via ClassPass, you get communication from ClassPass, and then hopefully you get it from the studio as well, but that doesn't always happen, which I can tell you a little bit about from experience. You also, after you finish your ClassPass class, are prompted to rate and review every class that you take. And it used to be, there have been different iterations of this, but it used to be that you had to actually write a written review. You couldn't just like tap 4, 5 stars, whatever. Like you actually had to comment on it. ClassPass now asks things as well, like how full was this class? What was the experience like? How hard was the workout? It asks some other questions that I don't know how they decide to bring those up, but those are interesting questions. And they're also like not questions that I ask as a business owner, but that's a sidebar. So the customer books through ClassPass. ClassPass's information then relays that to the studio's booking software. You then check in as usual with the studio at once you arrive for class, and then ClassPass dispenses payment to the studio the next month, essentially. So that's a little bit about how it works from a business and a consumer standpoint. I've kind of like jumbled all of that together, but I just want to try to get a sense for it. Another thing that you can do with ClassPass that people really like is you can use it in different cities. So ClassPass, when you're paying them, you're paying to subscribe to the service as a whole, not to a specific studio, which is what is a draw for people. So if you live here in Nashville, but you travel to New York City, or you travel to Chicago, or you travel to LA, you can use ClassPass, that same subscription, in those different cities as well. And so it is really handy for people who travel a lot. So that's a little bit about ClassPass. I'm sure there's some other details that I've missed, but just a little sort of intro if you've never used ClassPass before. What's the conversation about it right now? I feel like it's hot topic on the internet these days. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that clients, students of classes, are expressing that they feel like they're treated like second-class citizens when they book via ClassPass. They are treated like they're not good enough because they didn't book directly with the studio and instead they booked with ClassPass. And then businesses, on the other hand, there is this narrative, I don't agree with this, but there's this narrative that businesses experience ClassPass users as being entitled when they come in via ClassPass and expect like top of the line treatment, which I also think we should be giving people anyway. But businesses are expressing that they feel like people that book through ClassPass are acting entitled. So it seems like nobody's really happy with it right now, which is very interesting. One of the things that I do think this comes from is that when you're booking through ClassPass, they have a really slick app. It's a really seamless booking experience. And so the seamless booking experience that you get through ClassPass doesn't always reflect the full hospitality experience that studios are trying to give their students, right? So like if you book via My Studio, for example, you're automatically enrolled in a welcome sequence, and we send you a text message, we send you an email, we've got this whole welcome sequence, and you also acknowledge our waiver online before you come to the studio. When you book through ClassPass, ClassPass doesn't feed your phone number to us, so we can't enroll you in the automated text message. It also doesn't feed you our waiver, so we have to have you do paperwork when you get to the studio, or we used to when we were on ClassPass. The other thing we've noticed is that people ignore the emails that come directly from the studio. They only look at the ClassPass emails. And so since ClassPass has their own version of cancellation and confirmation and all of those emails, students don't get the emails that we are sending specifically to tell you like, hey, here's where you park, here's what time you should get here, all this kind of stuff. We even set up a specific automated email for people who book via ClassPass that says, hey, we're so excited you're coming. We know you booked through ClassPass. You have to fill out some paperwork first. If you don't mind, please arrive 15 minutes early. Also, here's how you park. Like it was specifically triggered by them booking via ClassPass, and it was a special welcome email that they got that just had a little bit more information kind of in a condensed format. And honestly, I would say most of our ClassPass students didn't see that email, either because they didn't know to be looking for an email from us, and also because it didn't go to the right email. A lot of people have gotten sort of like some kind of ClassPass promo, and they don't know what email address they've used for it. And it ends up being a junk email that they don't check. And that's really frustrating because we're not trying to spam you with our emails. We just want you to know some things you need to know before you come to our studio. We also have a lot of information on our website, for example, and on our social media about how to find us, where to park, what to bring. We have free mats for you to use. And people weren't getting that information because they went to ClassPass. And if that information wasn't explicitly put into our ClassPass profile, which we tried our hardest to have everything in there, but sometimes there's stuff that happens and comes up. And so we post about it on social media or we send a email blast out, but like they don't get those emails. The communication actually ends up falling by the wayside because of how easy it is to book classes through ClassPass, which is really hard. The other thing that I think is like a more of a psychological thing is that since the booking through the app is so slick, and ClassPass is a very large business, especially relative to my one room, one location studio, right? ClassPass is a big business. And so when you're interacting with studios through ClassPass, you feel like you're interacting with this big corporation when you're actually booking with a small, I would say mom and pop shop, but in our case, it was just a mom, a dog mom shop, right? Like you are booking with a one location, one room business versus if you go book at Berries or Solid Core or Body Rock. I think some of them are on ClassPass. I don't know if all of them are, but like you're not booking with a Soul Cycle or a Berries. You're booking with Heart of Wisdom, which is a small business. And I think sometimes you lose that perspective of who you're booking with and the personality and the values of the place that you're booking with because you're booking through such a big industrialized, I guess I'll say, app. I think that's kind of something that people don't realize is that they're losing the plot that you're shopping with a small business because it doesn't feel like you're shopping with a small business, which again, can be really cool, can be really slick. That's the only word I keep thinking about, but you kind of like forget who you're actually booking with a little bit. My biggest sort of gripe or issue with ClassPass these days is this disconnect is getting perpetuated by how ClassPass markets itself to businesses and to consumers. When ClassPass markets itself to consumers, it markets itself as a one-stop shop for you to be able to book everything and run your whole wellness routine via ClassPass. Whereas for businesses, I can tell you from experience, ClassPass markets itself as a way to fill the empty slots in your business. And when you're marketing to two different groups as two different things, of course, they're both going to get unhappy. If you're not sincere about what you're marketing and you're not selling the same thing to this different groups, yeah, there's going to be a disconnect because there's disconnect in your messaging to the people that you're trying to sell to. So of course, they're both going to have some gripes about what that disconnect in messaging is. So this marketing, let's talk about it a little bit. ClassPass markets itself as a one-stop shop for clients, for customers, right? So I actually went on their website today and I was looking at, they had these sort of sample plans of like how some ClassPass members use their credits to create a routine that works for them. And it shows you how many credits they pay for different things and how many classes they take per week or per month to use their credits. And for example, this one says that this person uses ClassPass to book her favorite workouts on repeat and keep up a fitness routine. There's nothing in there about like booking last minute spots. I do think that ClassPass started as a software that would allow you to book the last minute unfilled spots in classes, but people are using it as their gym membership. And it's marketing itself. ClassPass is being marketed to consumers as the way to replace your gym membership or your membership with different studios. Whereas for studio owners, ClassPass markets itself as a no-risk way to just fill those empty spots in classes. And the fact that they market themselves as like no risk, you can't lose, it's a little predatory because yes, it isn't risky to like bring in extra people to your studio. However, there are factors about how those people come in, the fact that they don't get my communication, the fact that they are just kind of like, oh, well, this sounds fine. Like this works for the time that I want. They're coming to us because that they want to work out is available. The time they want to do yoga is available. They're not coming because they believe in our mission and they want to come to us. A lot of times they're just kind of like, well, I have a 4:30 spot free. So like, what can I do at 4:30? And it's a really different energetic exchange with that kind of student. It's nothing against the student. It's just different for a business like mine. That's not the kind of person that we're trying to bring into Heart of Wisdom Yoga. Another thing that ClassPass will say when you have conversations with them about this, I've had conversations with them about this when I canceled our subscription, was that they don't intend to be a one-stop shop for people, which is just really funny because they end up being a one-stop shop. Like say, oh, we want people to have memberships at other places and buy class packs at studios and then use ClassPass as a supplementary booking platform. And that's just not how people are using it. Which is very interesting because I think if ClassPass did any very like light research into how their customers are using their platform, they would see that the way their customers are using ClassPass is not the way ClassPass is selling ClassPass to businesses. And that disconnect creates this conflict, which is hard, you know? Okay, so why does this matter so much? Why is this such a big deal for studio owners to have people coming from ClassPass versus coming directly to your studio? Well, I've kind of like tiptoed around it a little bit, but the big issue is the reimbursement structure. So the reimbursement structure with ClassPass is kind of wild and it's kind of complicated. And ClassPass doesn't explain this to students, so that's what I'm here for. So first of all, if you get a free trial of ClassPass, just know that businesses are agreeing for you to get to take their classes for free during that free trial. They're not getting paid, which, you know, some studios do offer free trial classes, but that's actually not part of our business model. And so it's kind of a bummer to like have to allow that with ClassPass when we don't do that anyway. But when you sign the contract with ClassPass, it's actually in the terms and conditions that you're agreeing to not get paid if someone is on a free trial or a promotional trial, which also sometimes it's a 2-week free trial, but then sometimes they'll do like a month free trial or 3 weeks. And that's, you know, that's a lot. The thing about the pay structure with ClassPass is they're paying a fraction of what a studio's drop-in rate actually is through their payment structure. So I'm going to use Heart of Wisdom as your example. I'm going to tell you some of our actual numbers. So for probably the last 6 to 9 months that we were on ClassPass, we were making about $7 a person. If someone came to us and just paid for a full price drop-in, our full price drop-in is $23 a person. So we were getting paid a little bit less than a third of what they would pay via paying us directly. And yes, that is still money coming in, right? Like that is still helpful. However, if you think about the volume of people that we interact with, in order to make the same amount of money from ClassPass users as we would from a person paying for a single drop-in, we would need to have 3 people coming via ClassPass. That's 3 people that we need to get into the studio, introduce to the studio, make sure they understand sort of what we offer, who we are. It's triple the effort for the same amount of money. And the reason I point out the triple the effort is not because we don't want to do that work. It's because we care about the experience you have in our class. We want to know what's going on in your body. We want you to know that there's no one right way to do yoga, right? We want you to have a good experience. And so we want to take care of you. We do want to offer you really great hospitality. It just ends up being an energetic exchange that doesn't quite work out the right way for us. So for example, our classes usually were around 4 credits on ClassPass, which was not something we had any say over. That is something that ClassPass set. When I just looked on the ClassPass website, it looks like strength training and hot yoga classes right now are at least 7 or 8 credits, which is double the number of credits as our regular temperature yoga class. Now, let's just say that a hot yoga class, let's say it's $35 instead of $23, right? Okay, so I just looked up Barry's pricing because Barry's is really different from Heart of Wisdom, but the pricing isn't as far off as you would expect. So let's just say a Heart of Wisdom drop-in is $23. To pay for a single class at Barry's, it's $29. So usually somewhere like Barry's, a strength training workout, or even a hot yoga workout, those classes are usually at least 7 or 8 credits. If anything, they're up to like 11 credits. Our Heart of Wisdom classes were going for 4 credits, sometimes 3 credits on ClassPass. So $23 is our drop-in. $29 is their drop-in. Our drop-in is 79% of the price of a Barry's drop-in. 4 credits is 50% of the price of an 8 credit drop-in, right? So they're discounting our classes and not paying us as much if they were just charging 8 credits. If they were charging, let's say they were charging 11 credits, they're charging triple the amount of credits for a class that is only $6 difference, for example. If they charged credits evenly across the board, Barry's drop-in would be triple ours, so it would be $66. It's not, it's $6 more. It's interesting. On the ClassPass website, there's actually a little like image that shows that gym time is the lowest credits, yoga's next, then nails, then Pilates, then strength training, then Pilates, then sauna sessions or something like that. ClassPass has their own internal algorithm that they use to charge people credits for classes, and it doesn't match the business price. It matches the demand on ClassPass. And I don't think people realize that this is a surge pricing based algorithm model for pricing that isn't actually compensating studios for their time in a fair way. Also, especially for us as small businesses, we don't have control over that. So a lot of people would come to me, especially once we announced that we were leaving ClassPass, people would be like, oh, can you stay on ClassPass but just raise your prices? Unfortunately, no. ClassPass didn't give us any say over how our classes are reimbursed. It is determined by ClassPass, and that's kind of what you agree to when you sign the contract. Especially for us little guys, we don't get say in that. And it's actually really hard to even get in touch with ClassPass from a customer service perspective. Now, I will say for larger studios that have more of a corporate branch, they are able to say, hey, we're going to enter into this contract with you. We'll add our studios on the ClassPass, but only if you keep them at XYZ number of credits. They are able to have a little bit more say than the one location guys like I am. And I think that's a great thing for them. So the pay structure is one of the big issues. And again, it's the fact that ClassPass isn't compensating studios based on the value that the studio provides and based on the studio's listed prices. ClassPass is compensating based on surge pricing, demand pricing for classes. And that's a huge bummer. There's another new issue that's coming up, and this actually has happened since we left ClassPass in July. We used to be able to remove classes from ClassPass and only have certain classes available to our ClassPass customers. On this new contract, your class availability is based on 3 months of utilization numbers, and so you don't have as much control over who can take what class. So when we were on ClassPass, I actually went ahead and pulled all of our more signature class styles from ClassPass. Logistically, on our end, the reason that we pulled some of our classes from ClassPass was because some of our classes are different from what they might see elsewhere on the platform, and it is just harder to have people just drop in for one class for those classes. We want them to really know what to expect, know what they're signing up for. If you see a Vinyasa Flow on a class booking platform, you've taken Vinyasa Flow classes before. You know what to expect, versus when you see a Connect and Flow class, which is one of our signature class styles. might be a little bit more unclear what that is, and we want to make sure you're getting all the communication and all the information about what that class is so you know what to expect when you come. We want to make sure you're getting what you pay for, essentially. So studios no longer can pull classes from ClassPass. Class availability is dictated by your utilization, and taking away even more control from the studios is something that's really challenging as a studio. You don't have that say over what classes are available on ClassPass anymore. Now, a studio like mine that was previously on ClassPass, if I had continued with our contract, that wouldn't have been what this new contract is, but this is for people who are onboarding onto ClassPass now. Okay, we've kind of beat around the bush about this, but my studio left ClassPass. Why would a studio leave ClassPass? It's basically free money, right? It's just bringing more people into the studio. Well, yes and no. It's a complicated situation. So why would a studio leave ClassPass? Ultimately, for us, we left ClassPass for two main reasons. Reason number one was to simplify our booking process. We are a one-room operation with teachers who run the show while they are in the studio. It's hard to have multiple different types of booking platforms because there are different processes that happen with each booking platform. For example, when you book via Moments, our native booking platform that we pay for, you sign our waiver in advance, you get a reminder text about class, you get an email that says, hey, here's what to expect, here's how to find us, text us if you have any questions. You get communication from us about how to get to us, and there's some hospitality there, but we've taken care of everything before you get to class. So it's a really seamless experience for you as the student and for our teachers as the teacher. If you walk in and you want to pay on the spot, we can totally do that. We can have you check out in person, but then we've automatically added you to our system. We can have you sign the waiver on our iPad. Like, it's really easy to do that. With ClassPass, ClassPass doesn't fully communicate with any of the booking softwares, even with MindBody, which owns ClassPass. So you still have to acknowledge our waiver, but that means you have to have an SOP, a standard operating procedure for checking people in that came via your native booking platform. You've got to have a ClassPass SOP. There also might be other things. There's things like GymPass and WellHub. When you're a studio like mine, where the teacher checks in the students, that's a lot to ask a teacher to do. And that's a lot of information for teachers to know how to troubleshoot, right? It is just more complicated to have multiple methods of booking a class. This is kind of like if a restaurant was on both OpenTable and Resi, and then also took reservations via text message over the phone and also took walk-ins. Managing those four systems talking to each other is more complicated. It's more different things to have to manage, right? And more integrations to have to talk to each other. So when a studio is on ClassPass, every person who works there has to know how to do things when a client comes from ClassPass. It's not a huge deal when someone's a returning client or even if they're a new client, but stuff happens, right? So we had multiple students who booked the Tuesday class at 4:30 and showed up on Monday at 4:30 and said, well, I booked the class, look at my confirmation email. And the teacher's trying to check in other customers and they're like, okay, sure, I believe you, and don't have time to look at the confirmation email in detail. And then I check in with them later and they realize that person came to the wrong class. We had that happen a lot. Also, the integration with our booking software didn't always work when we switched to Moments. So sometimes we'd be available on ClassPass and sometimes not. And it was hard to know which it was. I didn't realize that our ClassPass integration wasn't fully up and running. So clients on ClassPass would see like, oh, we don't have any classes running, but we had our full schedule running on our website. So we were open, but ClassPass showed that we had no classes happening. And that was something that took us weeks to get fixed, which was a lot of extra communication with people who wanted to come to us via ClassPass, had paid for ClassPass credits because they wanted to come to us, didn't want to then pay more money because they'd already paid for ClassPass. I don't know whose fault it was. I'm not saying it was ClassPass's fault, but like something was glitching on the back end. And so people were paying for ClassPass expecting to be able to come to Heart of Wisdom and actually couldn't come to Heart of Wisdom. And then I would say, well, we do have class. You can book with us directly. And they'd say, well, no, I already paid for these credits. I want to use the credits that I've already paid for. I can't then book you on the back end in ClassPass. That's just not how it works. And that's another issue that studio owners have with ClassPass is that we don't have any control over the back end other than putting our classes on ClassPass. That's all we can do on ClassPass. We can't do any customer management via ClassPass. So if it snows and you're stuck in your driveway and you can't get to class, we can't just move you to another class without triggering the ClassPass cancellation policies, which is a huge bummer because stuff happens. Or once when I was using ClassPass when I was traveling for work, I was once in a fender bender and like couldn't get to the studio after that. And I let them know. And then I ended up having to contest it with ClassPass because I said to them like, hey, I was in a car accident. I can't get to class now. Don't charge me the no-show fee. And I think it did end up getting backed out. But like that's a lot of effort for me to have to go through and then for customer service reps at ClassPass to have to deal with me when if studios had a little bit more agency to do what they needed to do in ClassPass, they would have been able to just say, oh, you can come tomorrow at another time or something like that. That's something we can do in our software really easily that ClassPass didn't allow us to do. So essentially, studios might leave ClassPass to simplify their booking processes, to simplify how their business is running. Studios also might leave ClassPass because of the money. The money isn't great. And yes, it does help. It is more dollars coming in. However, it wasn't sustainable for us because, again, I've given you the example of we were paid $7 per person that came via ClassPass. Our regular price drop-in was $23. If you buy a 10-pack, it's closer to $20, right? And that's a pretty fair price for a yoga class in Nashville. To only get paid $7 for those customers coming, it's so many more people that we are providing hospitality and care and service to that we're not getting compensated for, just quite frankly. And so then that's a bummer for me as a studio owner that we're not being compensated the way we should be. So simplifying the booking process is one thing. The lack of compensation and also the lack of clarity around compensation. The only reason I know what we got per person was because I did some back end math and calculated it. There is not transparency from ClassPass about like, hey, this is how much people are paying per class with you and how many credits they're paying. There's a lot of information that you're not actually provided via ClassPass. Another thing that I noticed with ClassPass is people were more likely to come to one class and then never come again, which I get it. Like when you're traveling, you want to drop in, you want to take a class. I will say one of the things that was really cool about ClassPass is that we would have people who were traveling that would come to Heart of Wisdom via ClassPass from Australia, the UK, Germany, Italy, other places in Europe. It was really cool to see that people were coming from all over the world and using their ClassPass credits to do so. Like we've had customers from all over the world that came through ClassPass, which is really cool that we were able to reach so many different people. Okay, so some other sort of gripes that studios might have with ClassPass or other issues with ClassPass. And I sort of alluded to this in some of what I've talked about already. One of them is that we as studios don't have much say over what we can do with ClassPass. So for example, I already gave the accident example, but like let's say you wake up sick, you booked class at, 8 p.m. last night, you went to bed at 9 and your class is at 9:30 a.m. the next morning and you wake up in the middle of the night and you have food poisoning or you have a migraine, which, I have migraines. My migraines don't give me 12 hours notice for cancellation policy. And the ClassPass cancellation policy is 12 hours. So ClassPass expects people to cancel 12 hours out or you get a late cancellation fee of $15. I believe that's what it was the last time I looked. There's also a no-show fee. Studios can't do anything to help you out with ClassPass, right? What are some other issues there? Things you just kind of have to keep in mind as a studio owner on ClassPass. So studios have very little control over things on ClassPass, which I've already talked about a lot. I've already talked about how we can't set the price of our classes in credits, that we just have to kind of take what is offered. We also can't make any updates or changes to your reservation in a pinch. We can't easily move you to another class. That is all done via ClassPass. So we don't have any say over what's happening. Let's say you get sick. I've had people whose like work meetings have gone long, like stuff happens and we get that. And we actually can't do anything on our end to do anything to your reservation in ClassPass, which is a bummer for us because we want to be able to treat you well, right? There is a 90-day opt-out period for studios too. It's not something that you can just like turn off and turn on. If you choose to leave the platform, there is a 90-day process. You have to give them 90 days notice essentially to leave the platform, which is a while. 3 months is a while. I mean, that's a whole quarter. You got to give them a whole quarter of you taking those credits. Another thing that is frustrating as a studio owner is that we don't see any of the late cancel or no-show fees that ClassPass charges. So one of the things I sort of mentioned already is that ClassPass has a 12-hour cancellation policy. They also charge so they charge a late cancellation fee if you cancel within 12 hours of your class, and they also charge you if you no-show. We as studios don't get that. That's not money that we ever got from ClassPass. So you're getting charged a fee that is going straight to ClassPass and not to the studio that's actually affected by you not showing or you late canceling. The other thing too, logistically, and this is a smaller thing, but it still matters, is that the payouts from ClassPass came on a monthly basis, whereas many studios will have payouts coming on a daily basis. So we don't generally wait for payouts to happen. If anything, they're happening like weekly, for example, but you have to wait longer for the payout. And cash flow is a big deal in small businesses, paying payroll and paying rent and paying utilities, all of that. It just takes longer to get the money from ClassPass, which can, be a little bit of a stressor and something you have to keep an eye on. So that's all a little bit about like what exactly is going on with ClassPass, right? Like, where's the conflict? My perspective as a yoga studio owner, as someone who has used ClassPass, who has booked with a bunch of different studios, who's worked at different types of studios, I'm not just talking yoga here. ClassPass is really cool. It's a great platform with some caveats. And I want to tell you about 3 different scenarios. So number 1, what you can expect when you buy directly from studios, and why I'm a huge fan of buying directly from studios, and why my studio personally came off ClassPass. I also will tell you how to be a good ClassPass user. And then last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about how ClassPass could be better. Here's the thing. ClassPass is a great option if you're on a budget. I think that if you're on a budget, you may not fairly expect to have every single studio in the city that you're in on that platform, because for some of them, it may not make sense with their financial model. I'm thinking about reformer Pilates studios. If you have 6 reformers and you're getting paid so much less by ClassPass than you would be for a regular price drop-in, that just doesn't make sense. So having reasonable expectations as a ClassPass user, and then also how to be a good ClassPass user, because it is a great platform. It's great if you're on a budget. And it's great if you want a lot of flexibility. It's great if you have a schedule where you travel a lot. Let's talk about like how to do it well, right? Because for the studios that it does work, like go be a fantastic customer of theirs. So let's talk about this. Okay, I'm going to use a lot of my own examples from Heart of Wisdom for why you should buy directly from studios. I will say bigger picture. It's always really nice when you can support a studio directly, when you can support a small business directly. What are some benefits you'll get when you buy directly from studios? Number 1, for some studios, you're going to have a more generous cancellation policy. So with Heart of Wisdom, for example, our cancellation policy is 2 hours. So you have up until 2 hours before class to cancel your spot. So you've got much more flexibility. Also, we understand, especially when we were in Wedgwood, Houston, and there was a train that would sit on the road right by us, we understand that things happen. And if you got stuck at the train, we knew that the train literally parked on the tracks and we had nothing that we could do with it. So we could move you to another class if we needed to. We have so much more flexibility in how can we manage your reservation and help you still get to class another time. We just don't have that flexibility with ClassPass. Another thing that you get with us and a lot of studios is you get guest passes. So when you pay for a membership with studios, for us, we can either you get a guest pass with your unlimited membership. So it's really easy to bring someone for free. It's included in your membership. It's a cool perk. Or between Moments and Mariana Tech, there's software that allows you to pay for your friends to come to class. So it's really easy to book for a group of people really seamlessly. Whereas in ClassPass, it's a little bit harder to do. You each have to individually book your spot versus if you book directly with us, you get to choose how many people you're paying for. And it just makes the process a little bit more seamless. Another thing you can expect from studios too is sometimes just a little bit more grace too, like I said. So my example that I always use is the train in Wedgwood, Houston. If the train was parked on the tracks, we know that like you physically cannot get to the studio. And so we'll figure out how we can reschedule you for another time. I don't want you to expect that every small business should work with you for every single situation that comes up. But like if you get stuck in traffic, if something happens as a mistake, a lot of times many studios will give you the benefit of the doubt once if you ask nicely. If you're a loyal client, and they know that you're usually there on time and you like totally blank and didn't cancel class in time, or you realize that you're sick. Like my studio, we would rather you not come to class if you're sick, and so we will figure out how to reschedule you, and we won't charge you for rescheduling you because we don't want you to get us sick. Versus when you book through ClassPass, that's just not something we can do. So we can give you more hospitality when you book directly through the studio. And this world of hospitality is something that's really important to me and something I really care about. Another way to do that, it doesn't just have to be through a membership. So you might be thinking like, Kim, I can't buy memberships at all these studios that I want to go to, and I don't expect you to. But a lot of studios packages, when you buy 5, 10, 20 classes at a time, have a pretty generous expiration date. So for example, for us, our class packages, if you get a 3 or a 5 pack, those classes, you've got 6 months to use them. That's plenty of time. If you get a 10 pack or a 20 pack, you've got a whole year to use them. So you can buy a class pack once and then use it over an extended period of time versus you're not necessarily stuck with the 1 month rolling over credits that you are with ClassPass. I want to acknowledge that some studios don't have this. They don't have as generous of a class use policy, but at the very least, many studios will give you 30 to 60 to 90 days to use a class package. And you can always ask the studio that you're considering buying a package with, like, hey, if I buy this 10 pack and it's been 90 days and I have one left, like, can you extend the expiration date for me? A lot of times the studios want you to come back. They would rather you use that final class so they can be a little bit more flexible with you. Another thing that you get when you book directly with studios is you also might be able to book further out. For example, ClassPass allows you to book 7 days out. With a class like Berries, for example, and I know SoulCycle was like this, you can actually pay for priority booking. You can book ahead of the booking window, so more than 7 days out. Memberships at some studios also automatically come with a longer booking. So for us at Heart of Wisdom, you can book up to 4 weeks out. A Pilates studio that I go to, when you have a membership, you can book up to 4 weeks out. When you have a class pack, I think you can book at least 2 weeks out. So you might be able to book further in advance so that you can get the classes that you want to go to, versus with ClassPass, you can only book 1 week in advance. I've mentioned this a few times, but I do want to just bring it up again. When you book directly with a studio, you get fully enrolled in their hospitality experience. So you get the text messages, you get the emails, they know how to contact you directly. I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, they're going to spam me and they're going to, send me so many spam texts and emails. We as studios don't want to annoy you. We just want to be able to communicate with you and we want to be able to celebrate with you. And sometimes that glitches a little bit when you book via ClassPass. And that's unfortunate because we want to be able to celebrate you and we want to be able to say happy birthday to you when it's your birthday. And if ClassPass didn't feed us your birthday, we can't give you the free birthday class, for example, that a lot of studios do. At the end of the day, all of this is the reason that I ended up leaving ClassPass as a studio owner. I want to be able to treat my clients really well. I want to be able to get to know you. I want to be able to give you the best possible treatment and a full hospitality experience when you come to Heart of Wisdom. And when we were on ClassPass, unfortunately, because of the way the platform was set up, we had 2 different experiences that we were giving people. So there was sort of the ClassPass experience that people would get, and then there was the full experience that people would get. I hated not being able to treat everyone the same way. It was a bummer for me to not be able to reschedule someone via ClassPass if they got sick, or people who booked for the wrong day and needed to change things, or just when stuff happened and we needed to be flexible with people. It was a huge bummer for me to have to say to them, hey, because you booked through ClassPass, I don't have any control over that. That's not fun. It's not fun as a business owner. And it's also not fun for you as a consumer, right? It's not a good experience. You're not going to come back to me because you're going to say, well, you're not treating me the same way as all your clients, which you're right, I'm not. And I hate that. And so that's why we left ClassPass, was because I wanted to be able to give everyone the same great experience coming to our studio. And we just couldn't do that via ClassPass. It was not an enjoyable experience for us. And it wasn't how we want to run our studio. We want everyone to feel welcome and included at our studio. And when one group of clients is having a fundamentally different experience than another group of clients, that's just not what we're about. So that was a big picture thing for us. And again, I've talked about the finances of it. It's also a bummer to not be getting paid what your listed price is. And that's something that I could have dealt with for getting people in the door if we were able to give everyone the same experience. And unfortunately, we just weren't able to give all of our customers the same experience. And that's something that was a deal breaker for me as a studio owner. So I wasn't able to treat all my clients the same, and I wanted to be able to treat everyone the same way, give them all the same fantastic experience. And so that's why we left ClassPass, was so that we could focus on giving everyone the same great experience when they come to Heart of Wisdom. So that's my rant on why you should book directly from studios. Okay, so you love ClassPass. It works with your budget. How can you be a good ClassPass user? Ugh, let's talk about this. Number one, arrive early, especially if you're a first timer. Allow yourself plenty of time to park. And also double check what you need to bring or expect for class. So if you're booking a new class type, I realize this does defeat the purpose of ClassPass a little bit, but don't be afraid to go to the studio's website or social media and look at videos or descriptions of that class type so that you know what to expect, so that you know, should I bring a towel? Should I bring my own yoga mat? Should I wear sneakers? Do they have water, or should I come with my own water? It could be helpful to know what to expect by going and looking at their website or their social media specifically. Also, make sure you know what email you have on file. Studios are not trying to spam you with tons of different information. We do want you to know how to get to the studio. For example, there are some studios like SolidCore that have a door code, and you get the door code when you sign up for class. So if you don't know what email address you have on file, you may not get the door code to be able to come in for a class. So make sure you know what email you have on file. Another thing too is that we had people who would use their friends' ClassPasses accounts. Please, please, please only use your own ClassPass, because we had people who would come in and would say their name and check in, and then they wouldn't be on our roster, and they'd say, "Oh, actually, I'm using my friend's account. It's under Meredith," or whatever. Eh, Please don't do that. Please, from a liability standpoint, we need to know that the person doing the class is the person who has signed the waiver and the person who's in our system. So please don't use someone else's ClassPass account, because that gets fuzzy for us liability wise, to be quite honest. Last but not least, write positive reviews. Say what you liked about the studio whenever possible. If you had a bad experience, I personally recommend going to the studio about it. If you enjoyed the class, leave a nice review, share what you liked about the studio, and also think about what would be helpful for you to tell people about this workout or this studio. Is there any helpful positive information that you can leave in a review? Know that people do still read those reviews, and even though they are anonymous via ClassPass, which is a little bit of a bummer, be nice, be kind if you can. And also, sidebar, please don't be mad at studios if they're not on ClassPass. There's a lot of reasons behind why we might not be on ClassPass. And like I said, my studio, I pulled from ClassPass because I wanted to be able to treat all of our customers the same. And ClassPass just wasn't letting me do that. I wanted to be able to treat people better than we could on ClassPass. But I'm also a former ClassPass user and I loved it. So I think if you're someone who uses ClassPass, be reasonable about your expectations. Understand that you may not have access to every single studio in town, but you're also going to have access to some pretty cool stuff, like some contrast therapy, or again, I've told you about nails and hair and massages and body work. Be excited about what you can take advantage of on ClassPass. Make sure you understand what their booking policies are. Make sure you understand the fine print about where are they located? What time do you have to arrive? What do you need to bring? And just make sure that you are a good customer of them. If you have a good experience, share that with people. Maybe post about it on social media. Write a great review, not just on ClassPass, but maybe leave them a Google review too. They might love that. Okay, so I also asked some of my business owner friends about what I should talk about in this episode. And one of them was, how could ClassPass be better? And I loved this question. So I'm going to sort of two-pronged answer this question. I'm going to answer this question of how could ClassPass be better? And I also am going to share who I think should be on ClassPass right now and who I think you should expect to book with. So how could ClassPass be better for especially small businesses like mine? Number one, allow businesses leeway on their policies. So we don't have a 12-hour cancellation policy. I don't want to have to enforce that with ClassPass customers. So can you give us leeway to set our own cancellation policies and our own booking windows? Like maybe we want people to be able to book a little further out, or maybe we actually don't want to release spots until 24 hours before class. Give us a little bit more flexibility in how we enforce our own policies on the ClassPass app. The next one I think is going to be somewhat obvious, but pass along revenue from no-show fees and late cancels, because at the end of the day, we are the ones impacted by that. And the fact that we don't get that revenue is a bummer. So make sure we're getting paid accordingly. And then my third piece is along those lines, make the credits that is being charged reflective of the class pricing period, not reflective of demand in ClassPass and the current wellness trends. One of the things about yoga, for example, is that it's a timeless thing, and a gym membership is a timeless thing. And unfortunately, these timeless things are just not trendy right now. It doesn't mean that they're less valuable. However, it looks like they're less valuable when ClassPass is charging fewer credits for it. So rather than having dynamic pricing that charges credits based on what people are interested in right now and what's trending, charge credits based on what our pricing is. There's a reason we've set our prices how we have, especially my studio, for example. We try to be accessibly priced. We want to be able to compensate our teachers and pay our expenses and things like that. And we're not trying to charge an arm and a leg for class, right? I operate a smaller establishment. We cap all of our classes at 14 people because we want to be able to give you personal experience. We want you to have a good experience and not be in too crowded of a class. And so we cap our classes at a certain size and we price our classes based on those certain sizes. So allow us to charge the credits that correlate with the price of our classes. It's a huge bummer to see studios whose drop-in is, $10 more than our $23 drop-in, double the credits or sometimes triple the credits that we're charging. That's a bummer to see our services devalued like that as a business. The fourth and final thing about how ClassPass could be better is give us say over what classes we put on the platform and how many spots we want to hold open for them. I'm happy to hold 1 or 2 spots open in a class for ClassPass students, but if I know a class regularly sells out for my own members, I want to be able to pull that off the ClassPass app and not have it offered to people at all. Those are some of the biggest things that I would say about how ClassPass could be better. Bonus round of who is ClassPass good for? I think ClassPass is a great option for number one, multi-location studios. Anyone with a corporate representation is a great studio to be on ClassPass because they have the volume and can accommodate the volume that makes it make sense for ClassPass. If they already have, for example, multiple employees working the front desk, not just one teacher who's checking people in as they go, then yeah, they can handle ClassPass. I also think larger studios are just going to have more spots to fill, right? Like when you have 40 bikes in a room or 40 treadmill spots and 40 floor spots in a Barry's class, like you have more flexibility than you do when you're a studio that caps out at under 20 people. If you have 20 or fewer spots, I really don't think it makes a lot of sense to expect that studio to be on ClassPass because each one of those spots is very precious and a little pricey. So I think those are the studios that you should expect to be on ClassPass is the larger studios, studios that have really full schedules. So if they're offering 10 or more classes a day, then yeah, of course they should be on ClassPass. If it's a multi-location studio, if it's a franchise, yeah, I would expect them to be on ClassPass, and I think it works really well for those locations. I just don't think it works as well for these smaller boutique, and I hate the word boutique, but smaller establishments that are one location with a teacher or maybe a teacher and a desk person. It's too much to try to manage ClassPass on top of giving customers, giving students the best experience possible. All right, y'all, I've made it through my 2-page outline. Let's talk big picture about ClassPass. I do think it can be really intimidating, especially as a yoga studio. I think it can be really intimidating for people to walk into a yoga studio or to look for a yoga studio. They don't know what to look for. And I do know that ClassPass can take some of that friction out and make it a little easier to just book a class and see what happens. That also is hard as a studio owner. I want to make sure my customers know what they're coming for, know what they're getting into, and I want to be able to communicate that to them through our website, our emails, how they interact with us, our social media, that they shouldn't be intimidated by coming to us. ClassPass is a great way to get your name out there, to get more people to know you. It's a great marketing tool, and there's a lot of logistics that come along with it. So I hope you understand some of the logistics that are behind ClassPass now. I hope you understand ClassPass a little bit better. And I hope you feel like a little bit more educated, either consumer if you're a student or user if you're a studio, if you're considering going on ClassPass, coming off ClassPass. I'm always happy to answer questions about all of that. At the end of the day, this is not to demonize ClassPass. It is a great option for some people. Like I said, someone who travels a lot, someone who needs flexibility, someone who wants to try a lot of different things. Great. If you're someone who knows that you want to go to that one yoga studio, I think you should see if you can purchase classes directly from them. This is a hot topic. I'm sure there's things that I've said in here that some people aren't going to agree with or have questions about, and so I'm nervous to share this, but I'm excited because, again, like I said, this is a hot topic. ClassPass is a really popular tool, and it's also something that I think business owners are realizing we aren't getting to give people the experience we want to give them in our businesses, and so that's why we're choosing to maybe not be on ClassPass anymore or limit the classes that are on ClassPass. So I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. I hope this answered some questions about ClassPass. At the end of the day, it's a cool platform for the people that it works for. And if it doesn't work for your studio, then I'm a huge fan of not using it. So now you can be an educated consumer as whether you're a studio or a student taking classes. I hope this just gives you a little bit more information, a little behind the scenes on ClassPass. If you have questions, give me a shout. Would love to hear what you think of this. Would love to hear if you use ClassPass. You can always request future topics for the What's Up with Yoga podcast on our website at howyoga.co/podcast. Like I said, if you liked this episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, rate 5 stars. And I'll see you next time so that we can explore what's up with yoga next week.